I love the Epic Battle Fantasy series. It is my favorite game series of all time, and EBF4 is my favorite game of all time. It introduced me to the RPG genre and made me a massive fan, and I could talk about this game series for hours. I'm not going to do that, though. There are already people out there that talk about why EBF is the greatest thing ever made and go into depth about the RPG series, and while I would love to give my 2 cents, I also like talking about games that are lesser known or just games that nobody cares about, and EBF has spin-offs that nobody cares about. I've never seen a single video talking about any of these games, and that kind of sucks, because these spin-offs are really fun to play. So, I'm going to talk about the spin-offs of Battle Fantasy and other games that Matt's last name that I can't pronounce has made. And I'm going to talk about these games because I think they deserve some time in the spotlight. But I won't be talking about any of Matt's old Newgrounds animations, because they have nothing of substance to talk about. I want to talk about the games that have things that you can click on. Also, I just realized while recording this, Matt's Hidden Cats is also a spin-off game that I am not going to be able to talk about because it's not out yet. I probably should have made this video after the game came out and actually played through the game and talked about it. So if this video gets 100 likes, I'll make a 12-hour video essay about why Matt's Hidden Cats is the greatest game ever created. That's not true. Don't do that, please. I do not want to do that. I do not want to work on that. Don't hold this word against me, because I'm not going to do, no, it's not going to. Now, before we get into these games, first we need to look at the main series, because we need a little bit of context. So, what is Epic Battle Fantasy? Well, EBF is an RPG series. These are the characters. That's really all you need to know. This is a very gameplay-focused series, less on story. You just need to know who the characters are and what their name is. I probably should have brought up the characters later anyways, because the first 3 games we're going to be talking about today don't have anything to do with the EBF series. They're just in the EBF collection, so I thought it was necessary to just bring those up. Starting off with the first game that Matt made, the Mecha Dress-Up game. The game is pretty self-explanatory. You make a robot. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really a big fan of dress-up games. I wasn't really the demographic to play these games, so I never really looked out for them. The only dress-up games I do know is Dressed Up Mario and Lacey's Wardrobe. And so I don't really know how to comment on this game. I mean, you dress up a robot, you give him all the parts that you want, and then you blow him up. You save him to your computer. You make him your identity. This is my OC. Do not steal. I don't know what else to say. I only have one other game in the genre to compare this to that isn't Dressed Up Mario, so I guess my major criticism is that I wish you could take the mecha out to a picnic and have a fat guy in some bushes stare at you, and after a while of that, the mecha eventually gets killed and eaten alive by the fat guy. That's as much as I could get out of talking about this game. Moving on to the next game, which is the Kitten game. This is just a game where you click on cats and make them explode. I'll give the game this, the gore is pretty funny, but that's really all the game has to offer. You click on cats and make them explode, and then move on to the next level to make them explode even more. The only other interesting thing is that this level uses a cover-up Dimrain 47 surface. Anyway, next we have Cat Cafe, and this has actual substance to it. Asterisk. Yeah, out of all 3 of these games, this one has the most substance, but that's not really saying a lot. This is Lacey's Diner without the cooking segment, so I mean, what are we even doing here? There's a cat dress-up game in both the kitty game and the Cat Cafe game, and they're fun little things to do. You can use the money that you earned through serving the cats to dress them up. I'm really trying here. These are fine games, but they are clearly flash games. They're little games that didn't take too long to make, and they don't take too long to play. They're just something to pass the time, and for that, these games get a good score. I'm not gonna give it a score. On to the next game that actually has substance. I want to go back to the Mecha Dress-Up game. I'm not prepared to go into bullet heaven right now. Let's just go to a different game instead and get back to this one later. Instead, let's talk about Adventure Story.
Hold it!
Hi, this is me in editing. I forgot to bring up Brawl Royale, which is a quick draw minigame. My favorite part about it is that Goku's hair has gore in it for some reason, and that's all I have to say. Back to Adventure Story. Adventure Story was the answer to what if Chibi Knight was a precision platformer. Why did you ask that? Though, instead of being an open area that had little sections you can run into, the game instead has 20 levels. Every 5 levels, there's a boss that you have to fight, and at the end, you save the princess. What? There's 4 bonus levels corresponding to the 4 worlds that are in the game, and these levels really like testing your platforming skill as well as dodging enemies. One of my favorite parts about the platforming in this game is that when you jump on an enemy while swinging your sword, you can bounce off of them, and this game really likes to use that mechanic, and it's a really fun mechanic to use as well. Combat is pretty straightforward. Spam S unless you're a wizard, then you spam D. Pressing D gives you a list of spells that you can use that you buy from the shop with coins that you get in each level. There are 100 coins in each level, and this game really likes scattering coins just everywhere, so you're going to be doing a lot of platforming, as well as also getting chests, because there are also 10 chests in each level that can sometimes give you equipment with special effects in them, and those are really fun to use. My personal favorite is the Knight shirt because it gives you knockback immunity, and I really hate knockback in this game. You will be covered in enemies a lot, so it's nice to just damage boost through most things, especially when you have over 100 HP and enough green orbs to use heal spells just to get through a large amount of enemies. I'm not very good at this game, but that doesn't matter because the Knight armor is just really good for everything. There's also the umbrella sword that just lets you glide, allowing you to skip through large sections of level, and that's good because this game can get quite annoying with its layouts. It's not too bad with its normal levels, but the bonus levels can frustrate you at times, especially on the 3rd stage where its gimmick is there are falling rocks from the sky and you have to bounce off of them to do most of the platforming. I mean, sure, you could use a few of the enemies in some of the areas, but it's just better to use the rocks. But that doesn't mean I like using the rocks. The rocks are not fun to use at all, and the boss at the end of the level is best countered with the serrated blade that destroys rocks, though this also applies to the falling rocks, and when the game tells you that you can freeze the rocks and do it with the serrated blade equipped, the rocks will also be destroyed, so it's a little annoying to get through. Actually, no, it's really annoying. So apart from that, all the other levels are really fun to play through, and the gameplay is just generally really fun. For a first platformer, probably, Matt did a really good job at making just really fun gameplay. The game can be annoying at times, but there's a lot of ways to easily circumvent that with the equipment. So, this game is really good. I enjoy this game. Go play it. I don't want to talk about Bullet Heaven. Hey, did you know that Matt used people's data on a research paper? Okay, fine, I'll talk about Bullet Heaven. Now, I really like bullet hells. They're not everyone's cup of tea, but if you really like brute force learning hundreds of enemy attack patterns, then they're pretty fun games to play. However, Bullet Heaven is a game where it brute forces itself onto you. That doesn't sound right. My biggest problem with Bullet Heaven is that most, if not all, of the common enemies just float down to the bottom of the screen while shooting projectiles at you. This can get really frustrating, especially when you're trying to kill hordes of enemies and you just can't get to all of them. Normally enemies would be at the top of the screen or fly across the screen, but instead in this game, we're on a conveyor. You have to go, you have to hurry things up, you know, you don't have all day. This game really does feel like I'm just stuck on a conveyor and I can't do anything about it. All the enemies fall down at the exact same fixed speed too, and it ain't slow either, so have fun navigating the screen when walls start getting introduced. Or really have fun with the third world in general. This world, oh, it sucks. I could go on to talk about why I don't like these areas, but I'll be reiterating myself. Basically, what you need to know is walls and also falling rocks that split when you destroy them. Both of these get extremely annoying very quickly. Quick side tangent, but another big problem that I have with this game is that you can't death bomb. For those of you who don't know, in bullet hells, when you get hit, there's a tiny reaction window where you can press a bomb instead and keep your life while blowing up everything. It's a nice rewarding second chance, and unfortunately in this game, it's not there. Also, there's no way to tell how much progression you've made throughout the level, so These levels can run on and feel like eternity, especially in the end game levels, where to increase the difficulty, Matt decided to turn the game into an endurance test to see how long you can last, because these levels go on for so long and you have no idea when they're going to end. Luckily, you get access to Matt at the beginning of the game, and he's basically the best character in the entire game. He has a really good spread with his attack, and he generally just has good weapon and sub-weapon, and he has a pretty decent speed, not being too fast and not being too slow. I would talk about the other characters, but I wanted to stop playing as soon as possible, so I'm just gonna, these are the characters. Is that Anna? Oh, well, anyway, the boss stages are at least better than the regular stages because the bosses at least stay at the top of the screen. But even then, they're alright. They're nothing to write home about. I like the designs of the bosses. I generally like the designs of all the enemies in this game. They're pretty cute and they're pretty cool. Unfortunately, this game doesn't have a story, so there is no rhyme or reason to why you're going through killing all of these things. You're just running through, and then at the end you fight Godcat. What? Okay, wait, hold on. Why in Epic Battle Fantasy 3.3 Bullet Heaven does Anna, a main character that gets introduced in Epic Battle Fantasy 4, and Godcat, the final boss of Epic Battle Fantasy 4, both appear in the game preceding it? Actually, better question, why is Anna's pet Bush a character? I guess it could be reasoned that this game was being made at the same time as Epic Battle Fantasy 4, probably, and these characters just already existed while Matt was working on the game. I guess, and that sort of makes sense. It feels like this game didn't have enough dedicated time in the oven, so if EBF4 was being worked on at the same time as this, then sure. Game feels sort of rushed. Sorry if that's mean, but I don't know how else to put it. Everything in the game is just static images. All the enemies float downwards at the same fixed speed. A lot of the levels feel quite samey. I don't know. It feels like it was just rushed. I don't really recommend this game. There's a little too many problems with it, and it's really frustrating. I'd recommend other bullet hells like Bullet Heaven 2. Wait a second, that's the sequel of this game! Bullet Heaven 2 is a really good sequel and a really good game in general, and I wish more people talked about it. Then again, it is called Bullet Heaven, and yet it is not a Bullet Heaven, so I guess that would confuse people. Yeah, it turns out Bullet Heaven is a subgenre. I don't know what it is a subgenre of, because it's definitely not a bullet hell. My best guess is roguelike, as the main premise of a Bullet Heaven is that there are a bunch of enemies that surround you while you run around in circles killing them. Anyway, Bullet Heaven 2 is so much of a better game than Bullet Heaven 1 will ever be. That's mean. Basically, take everything bad that I said about Bullet Heaven, then invert it, and that's Bullet Heaven 2. I'm not going to talk about everything that Bullet Heaven 2 did right, because Bullet Heaven did everything right. What I'm going to say is that you can now spend money to buy sub-weapons for each of the characters that'll change up their gameplay, and you can also buy cheats and handicaps that can change up your gameplay slightly by making the game either a little easier or a little harder, and I think that's really cool. Also, the characters play much different from each other and actually feel like different characters with different playstyles, and I think that's pretty cool. And there's now a difficulty option. Each character now has 3 sub-weapons that you can choose from, adding more variety to gameplay, and they have different things that they can ride on. For cosmetics purposes, I guess. Generally, I just think this game is just really good and everybody should play it. This is definitely a good game to get into if you want to start getting into bullet hell games. I think the difficulty is pretty well balanced around getting into the series, as well as having the cheats and the handicaps. There's a lot of ways you can definitely change up your gameplay, and the game's just generally really fun just for anybody that likes bullet hell gameplay. So if you do get into this as your first bullet hell, I heavily recommend switching to keyboard controls, because the mouse controls are automatically selected every time you open the game, and I wish that wasn't a thing, but whatever. The mouse controls are fun, but barely any games use mouse controls. They normally use keyboard controls. I don't have too much to say. This is a high quality product. If you don't want to spend money on the game, then it's on Newgrounds, as well as every other game I've been talking about this entire time. On to the final game, Bullet Heaven 3. Wait, they're the third one? Yes, exclusive only to Newgrounds, Bullet Heaven 3 Prototype exists. This is a game created from the Flash Forward Game Jam, according to the description, and as stated, this is sort of a bare bones prototype of what Bullet Heaven 3 would look like, where you play as no legs? Question mark? He doesn't really have the head shape, he looks more like Sushi Cat. Anyway, you play 20 levels of running around, killing enemies that spawn and shoot things at you as you collect coins and upgrade your stats like fire rate and damage and speed, and then at the end, you fight a massive wave of enemies that is 33 waves long. Honestly, that's the easiest level of the game. A lot of the difficulty from this game comes from mixing and matching enemies. That kind of goes with any Bullet Heaven game. A lot of the difficulty is there's a lot of enemies that work weirdly well together that make the fight a lot harder. So when you mash a bunch of the same sort of enemies that do the same things together, they become much easier to kill. There's also a hard mode where you do all 20 levels again, but like it's harder, there's more bullets, and you take more damage. I didn't play that as much. And also there are no bosses. Yeah, this is definitely a prototype. There are levels with enemies in them, but there are no bosses. You just fight waves of enemies, and you fight 33 waves of enemies, and then that's the game. You're done. There's not too much to say about this game, but it is pretty fun to play through. I will say that. I do like the gameplay loop. And with that, I played every Epic Battle Fantasy spin-off game in a very short duration of time. I am tired. I don't know if you could have told that from this previous section. Whoopsies. In conclusion, Matt is really good at making games, and EBF spin-offs are all really fun to play, and also the mecha dress-up game is actually super fun. I went back to this game several times during the making of this video just to like click through the robots. I really enjoy just clicking the randomize button, or just seeing what sorts of weird combinations I can come up with. And also, there's a lot of hidden, like, areas you can click in to change the robot's appearance. There's a lot more than I initially thought, so this final part is going to be dedicated to the mecha dress-up game. You should play it. It's actually really fun, and I just really enjoy playing it, and I think that more people should play this game. You should share your mechas with me in my Discord server, link in the description. Not in the description, probably. I'm probably not going to link that, but whatever. We're at the end of the video now. This recording goes on for a little too long. Anyways, I don't know what my next video is going to be. I had a plan for it, but that plan might not go through. I don't know what I'm going to do, so the next video might be on Fate, not the thing you're thinking of. And that's all I have to say about this at the end of the video. Bye.